Rounds and Exits playlist from Kazartsev is a daily digest of the most interesting deals on the planet. This is not a cursory observation, but deep dive analysis of the hidden essence of the transactions occurred, their place in the participant strategy, and the subjective motives of actors. Tech entrepreneurs will learn about real sources of VC cash, progress of foreign competitors in their vertical, and about the non-obvious mechanics of the exponential growth. Private angels and VC funds will see where international investment trends are heading and what opportunities remain to normalize their own problematic portfolio through access to foreign buyers. IT specialists, marketers, and other employed professionals will see cooperation opportunities with foreign champions or a niche to start their own business. Corporate C management and CVC will see the most feasible ways to commercialize technologies which are transforming their industries into a new digital nature. Small and medium business owners will see a landscape of market risks and financing opportunities on the way to overcome local limited demand and scale their model to global endless markets. Hello world, my name is Michael and I'm broadcasting from Moscow, Russian Federation, and the topic of today is the latest round of high-tech startup lending. Lending operates in PropTech, property technology, real estate tech area, and it's about the network of apartments scattered across the United States. And these apartments are equipped with a high-end equipment and very fashionable furniture and designed in a proper way, modern way. So the major objective of this startup is to study and to develop the niche, to support the hypothesis of the existence of the niche between, on one hand, hotels and Airbnb, and on the other hand, long-term lease agreements. So that's the major idea. The latest round was in the amount of $30 million. $20 million were related to the equity investment into the capital, and it was led by VC Greycroft and a bunch of other guys. And in addition to that, there was a debt amount of $10 million, and that constitutes $30 million round, which is somehow called A round. So very unusual A round in the amount of $30 million. Lead partner on the part of Greycroft was Jan Sigalov, and their founder of lending is a seasoned, experienced entrepreneur, Bill Smith. It is interesting to mention that that's already a second major incorporation of Bill Smith. Before, he established a grocery delivery startup, and it was financed as well by Greycroft Company, and that was a huge success. Because in the year 2017, Bill managed to sell its first startup to Target, its supermarket network, supermarket chain across the United States, for a quite stunning $500 million. When Bill was scaling its grocery delivery startup around the United States, he encountered a major problem with organizing his living space, because the style of renting which he wanted to have was in a contradiction with the usage of trade related to hotels or related to long-term agreements. On one hand, it was necessary to have some kind of cozy home-like experience, which is not quite affordable and related to the hotels. And on the other hand, Bill did not need such an extensive periods of renting common for long-term rent. So that was the idea. That is the hypothesis, major market hypothesis, that there is a huge, not huge, but enough proper amount of people, successful, dynamic people, mostly millennials, who are very busy across the country, who need to develop the business in one part of the country and then in another part of the country. Some of them maybe already have families, and hotels are not the best choice for family life in the long run, even in the middle run. So, and he decided that there is a niche which is not properly developed, which is not properly cared about. So apartments are located in the major metropolitan areas of the United States: LA, Miami, Seattle, Dallas, New York, of course, and effectively major economic centers of the United States. And the key message to the audience, key message to the core customers, to the customer clientele is that you can rent very fast and very easily. So no bothering with landlords, no bothering with myriads of different suppliers and service providers. So everything is connected, switched on. Everything is put in place before your arrival. So you can get in very quickly. You can terminate your contract as well very quickly without any major penalties, contrary to the experience with the regular landlords. As a special benefit is concierge service provided, 24/7 concierge service, which is quite useful in new areas, in new city. So I personally traveled on business a lot and lived such kind of life. So concierge in the new area is something of a real value. So Google does not match concierge service. So apart from that, apartments are bright, fashionable, and very cozy to live in. Their message, which is the idea, their business DNA of the startup is living as a service. So, or a personal living environment as a service. So, quite popular motto. So, something as a service. Okay, we will have a look how this will develop in the future. The platform provides for the opportunity to get in any apartment across the country where they are present, but there is a membership fee of $200 per year for the privilege of having access to this network. It is always very intriguing to examine the vacancies, the open vacancies of the company, to understand their focus, the focus of their efforts and the focus of their attention. So here we have a supply chain manager, director of inside sales, regional and store manager, a bunch of other guys. Also, it is very interesting that lending stems not from major startup areas like New York or Silicon Valley, but from Alabama. So, first startup of Bill Smith was originally started over there, and this one is started over there as well. And they have a office in San Francisco, but headquarter and the soul of the company is still and will be over there in Alabama. So it's a major place of operations. Also, it is very well financed startup at such an early stage. So it was started in the year 2019, and up to today, it somehow already raised $45 million. First investments were made by its founder. So he used proceeds from their previous exit, which is quite respectful. That is interesting that lending does not have any patents filed or any patents confirmed. So I looked up international patent base and zero patents for lending. That would make me worry because on one hand, lending uses multiples, capitalization multiples, valuation multiples are relevant to the high-tech companies, and on the other hand, they don't have any feasible technology on the first sight. So something very regular, very trivial stuff, not subject to patenting. That makes me remember about the story of WeWork. So WeWork was doing similar strategy, being a brick and mortar company, they were trying to raise money based on high-tech multiples. So, but WeWork was not high-tech company in any sense. It was quite well and healthy from the operational point of view, but having a look from the financing perspective, it was a disaster. It was a disastrous look. So not justifiable multiples from any perspective. So there was the core of scaling was absent over there. So it is necessary to be very careful about lending in estimating if there is a risk to fall into the same trap as WeWork did. The team of lending is quite young, so Bill is a leader over there, and they are raising their workforce very quickly. So quite an impressive raise in the headcount. So operations, sales. Wow. Well, definitely Bill has a good choice of headcount selection. Yeah. Anyway, about competitors, there was another startup which was trying to do the same, but at the international level. It was targeting more premium audience of premium consulting companies and top management of top 500 companies who travel the world and not have to stay not just in the hotels, but sometimes have to stay extended period of time on long-term projects. So this competitor raised $70 million, and they are developing mostly in the international capitals. Lending has a more democratic approach, but still the average price, not average price, like I would say starting price is $4,000 rent per month. So $4,000 rent per month is something you don't care about if you raised your first round A, but otherwise it may be a challenging challenging thing. So maybe they are on. They targeting packet agreements with major companies. So, for example, competitor which I mentioned, which acts internationally, their primary idea about getting clientele is not retail sales. So, I mean, not retail renting like one by one, but they make frame contracts with major companies and for extended period of time, and they provide huge discounts. So probably it is not officially declared by lending, but probably that is one of the strategies utilized. So maybe $4,000 it's official red price. So but undercover they have some kind of agreements with major corporations about huge discounts, but we don't know that for sure. We can just speculate. Apart from that, it is interesting that of course, lending does not build buildings or apartments, and it does not buy buildings or apartments. They rent it for extended period of time. They do long-term rent from building owners, and then they rent it out, re-rent it, let's say in retail. So on the short-term basis, and for more expensive rate. So that's how they make their profit. The most intriguing question here is to understand if there is enough demand for that. So it's not clear if there is enough number of people who live such kind of life. Of exceptional dynamic across the country. So company mentions that average millennial changes his place of work, changes his place of living every 3 years. I respectfully cannot believe that. So maybe some kind of fraction of millennials, but not United States millennials taken as a whole. as a now one of the competitor which is need to be taken into consideration and against which lending bets is old guys from the building industry who are trying to sell apartments. So, but lending tries to get on the latest psychological trend and latest fashionable trend of millennials, whose philosophy, whose paradigm is not to buy but to rent. So millennials want to have everything of best quality and not tomorrow but today, here and now, and they're ready to pay significant part of their income for this wish. So they cannot afford to buy it, best of the best, but income is enough to rent it. So that's what they do. So it's a blow on the savings, but it's another story. Generally, it looks like they have good psychologists in the staff, like because doing the sales, they utilizes a lot of psycho tricks. So, for example, again about this subscription fee of $200. So it's not about revenue. They're just trying to inspire some kind of feeling of being privileged, being a member of the elite club. So being not around but being in. So also they are obsessed about millennial psychologists, movement in the millennial psychological trends are dynamic guys, better rent than buy, and so on. And as we could predict, majority of traffic website gets from the paid search and display ads, which is very much predictable at such early stage of the startup. Not much from organic as far, but it comes, it definitely comes. Most of the traffic is done and received from the desktop devices. That is interesting. So it means that people don't look for apartment on the go, but they take it seriously. Clients take it seriously, and in their stationary environment, they study and examine information, and majority of the traffic comes from the desktop. So and that is the sweet part. So how actually these $4,000 per month apartments look like? Quite bright, fashionable, big windows, very good equipment. So wow, yes, very fashionable, very trendy. So about $4,000. So what could I recommend, if I may recommend to the management to get more successful? Well, in the era of current crisis and in the context of soon reduced income, maybe it is a good idea to think about co-living options. So, for example, some people who will not afford $4,000 per month rent, but could afford $2,000 per month rent. So maybe they could share apartment. So actually, that goes in connection with the trend of sharing economy. You can share a car. Why can't you share a living space? And also that makes very good psychological contribution to the social isolation of people who are on extended business trips in foreign cities, in cities, towns where they are not from. So here you might get some kind of feeling of the hostel in the positive way. So in hostel, even if you travel alone and you go to the hostel, like within minutes you get connected with a bunch of guys and girls, and you already have some kind of friendly crowd to mingle with. So maybe it's not so messy here for such kind of price. So, but one or two living alive beings are maybe not the maybe constitutes a good compromise in relation to the coziness. Also, it would be good to think about marketplace. So probably what they do right now is not the final ultimate objective. So maybe the ultimate objective not to rent like 1,000 or 10,000 apartments across the United States, but just to educate their market and to establish that trend, which will be supported by other actors. So probably the lending wants to be a marketplace for such kind of niche. So there is a place for Airbnb, but that is different segment, different story, different usage of trade. So maybe for this segment, which is still in the process of development, in the process of building itself, so they want to become a marketplace for other guys and to earn on commission, because like establishing thousands and thousands of apartments, even subject to long-term rent, it's far too huge money. So we are talking about billions and billions of investments. So maybe you don't need billions and billions of investments frozen for years and years. So in terms of investment returns, so maybe the whole idea here is to establish a trend and then to become a marketplace for people who will sit on this trend which you successfully established. So but then there is a risk. It's not a big deal to do a marketplace. If such trend really will be constituted, then there will be persuaders, pursuers, followers who will make such kind of marketplace. So there is a risk that lending will spend its investment money for constituting such a trend, for bringing, instilling the habit of living such kind of life on such kind of infrastructure, and then some other guys, which are much less investment, will make a marketplace. That's the risk. Well, that's a very Asian dilemma, to be the pioneer or to be the pursuer, so follower. So you get the most of risk of not getting product market fit in the pioneer case, but you will face severe market entry barriers in case you are a follower. So and again, the major hypothesis about existence of the demand in the proper amount, in the proper volume, is still of the question. So pending months and years will confirm or reject such a hypothesis. So guys, that's March 2019. So if you are struggling with a crisis stemming from economic meltdown and pandemic which hit your business, so you are more than welcome to talk to me about pivot possibilities of your startup, or about restructuring, refocusing your middle business. I'm a professional guy, so that is my major focus of expertise. So how to rebuild, how to pivot your business model to fit the new reality, to fit the new economical and social landscape. So guys and girls, take care, stay cool.